Hey guys, this is Tom from Numbers Game Lifestyle, and today we're going to be talking about good date ideas to maximize your odds of success for men dating women. First things first, I did a video about why you should keep your dates simple, cheap, and close to home in another video, but this is just going to go over the specifics of, what good dating options, what good dates you can come up with yourself. And first of all, it's going to depend on what is close to your house, where you live. Because that is the most important aspect of the entire date, is how close it is to your place. Because the closer it is to your place, the easier it is to transition back to your house, where you can get intimate with her. That's usually the goal of the date. So yes, get as close to your home as possible, whatever venues you have available to you. Now, personally, I use, like, close to my house, you'll often see me say like frozen yogurt, coffee, or drinks, because there's a coffee shop, there's a frozen yogurt place, and there's a bar all within, 5-minute walk of my house. So those are the options I usually give women. But often you have to play around with logistics to make it more optimal. What you don't want, and how dates normally play out, is, let's say you go to a coffee shop and it's dark, it's raining outside, like it normally is where I live. And you go to the coffee shop and it's super busy, everybody's like, it's crowded, and you get your date there and she's sitting next to you. Imagine this, you're trying to have, really get to know this girl, really like dive deep, but there's people all around you that could easily listen in. They're right next to you in a lot of these coffee shops. And imagine how difficult it is. She's going to feel guarded. She's going to be like, she's going to hold back in what she answers. You're going to hold back because there's a bunch of other people right next to you. And of course, if you want to invite her back to your place, the odds of her saying yes when there's tons of people potentially listening in on, like, oh, that girl's easy, she just left with that guy to go home to his place. It makes it super awkward when there's that many people looking around. Same thing, like, and the odds of her saying, yeah, let's go back to your place, sounds like a plan, is very low because there's so many people listening in. And you can't even touch her very much as well because, again, you've got your hands all over her and everybody else can see. She's going to be super self-conscious about, like, what that looks like to other people. And other people can see you putting your hand on her legs and, like, squeezing them, resting your hands on her legs, on her arms, or whatever. It's a bad look. It creates, like, all kinds of anxiety in women that are like, oh, like, I like this guy, but, like, I wish he'd stop doing that in front of everybody around me, because everybody can see it. That is why you should be in a location where it's just you and her. So this is what I often do when I'm pitching dates to women. I say, like, yeah, let's meet up at this frozen yogurt place. And as soon as she meets me outside, I'm like, you know what, I'm kind of hungry, or let's take a walk. Whatever excuse I have, I immediately just walk her right out, and I take a walk, down to a park or an area where I can just sit down, have me and the woman just be together. No other person around. No other person can watch me put my hands on her. No other person can listen in on our conversations that we're having, and she doesn't have to hold back. She doesn't have to worry about, like, other people looking and judging her. She doesn't have to, hold back on her answers and be stifled on how she, what she answers me. When you invite her back home, like, hey, let's go back to my place. I'm getting kind of hungry. Or it's getting kind of cold out here, or it's getting kind of hot out here. We can head back to my place and I'll make some dinner or get us some drinks. Whatever it is, whatever excuse you have, just invite her home. And it's a lot more likely for her to say yes, especially when she's moved around, she's walked with you, she's comfortable with you touching her already. It'll be very easy for her to say, like, yeah, sounds like a plan. What I noticed is if you sit and talk for a long time, let's say like an hour, and then you invite her home, the odds of her saying yes are pretty low. Because, you know, she's like, okay, like, I like this guy, like, the date's over, we've had enough time together, I'm good, like, I don't have to go back to his place. But if I invite her home after, like, you know, 15 minutes of us, like, me putting my hands on her, like, you know, on her leg, taking it off, talking deep about different topics, and I invite her home, like, yeah, like, I'm getting kind of hungry, let's head back to my place and I'll make us some dinner. And it's very easy for her to say yes, because she's like, oh, okay, like, the date's just kind of just started, but, you know, I trust this guy, he's touching me, he seems cool, like, it's no big deal, I can go back to his place. It's very simple, like, it makes it very easy for her to say yes. Whereas if you wait a long period, you know, you've talked, you've walked, you've done all these things, it makes it like, okay, like, the date's over, I can go home now, we had a good date, I'm good to go. Whereas if you invite her home after, you know, 15 minutes, half an hour max, it feels like the date's still on, right? Like, she's like, oh, okay, it's a little early for this, but whatever, like, let's go back to his place, I trust him. Yeah, and as soon as she's back to your place, you can gauge to see exactly how comfortable she is being in your pad after, you know, 15 minutes of conversation, and you can take it from there. You can figure out, like, do I need to, you know, make her more comfortable, or is she all ready to, like, you know, sit down and watch a movie with me in my bed? You have to figure that out. You have to look at her body language and see if she's ready or not. You know, if she's stayed long enough in the oven. But again, like, any of these things work. I don't even like the bar. I don't like taking the girls to bars because, again, you're forced to deal with a waitress. You're forced to deal with other people looking at you. And it's just other potential problems where a woman has to hold back about, like, you putting your hands on her or answering difficult, like, deep questions that she, like, feels reserved about. It makes her feel self-conscious. As soon as you take her out of that environment, you're like, let's go take a walk. And I just find a park bench, find, like, some bleachers, anything where there's no one else around and we have, like, you know, a decent enough view. You can really dive deep. You can really get to know a woman really quickly this way because you put your hands on her, the sexual tension gets ramped up, and, you know, the conversations are deeper because there's no one else to worry about. It's just you and her. So when you invite her after, like, 15 minutes, you know, half an hour max, about, like, yeah, like, I'm getting kind of hungry. Let's go back to let's make dinner. Like, I've got some food ready and we can make dinner and, like, watch a movie or watch a TV show, whatever show you talked about or whatever movie you talked about, you know, you can seed that and you just be like, yeah, let's go watch that show. I'll make us some dinner. We can make dinner together. And boom, it's good to go. And she never has to feel, like, guilty or bad about it. Like, oh, like, I'm going back to his place already. No, it just feels like part of the date. And it is part of the date. Once she's back at your place, you can evaluate to see, like, how comfortable is she? Is she ready to just, like, hop in your bed and, like, you know, ramp things up? Or is she, like, kind of, like, nervous and unsure, in which case you help her relax by, you know, making dinner, like, have her mash potatoes, have her chop carrots, whatever it is. But it just relaxes her. It takes her guard down. She doesn't have to worry about you jumping all over her too soon. Okay, so that's the thing we don't want to do. We don't want to, like, ambush this girl, you know, before she's ready, before she's cooked, before she's, you know, ready for intimacy. And you'll know that as soon as, like, her body relaxes and she's, like, comfortable, like, she'll lie down on your bed right next to you without worrying about it, without being stiff or like, oh, like, should I be doing this? No, like, once you lie down on your bed, like, hey, let's put on a movie, she'll lie down right beside you and she won't feel nervous about it because you've already communicated that, yeah, like, you're a trustworthy guy. You touched her, you know, you've taken care of her emotions, you've made her feel comfortable. Now she's able to relax and get horny back at your place. And there's all kinds of dating scenarios you can do. If there isn't anything close, then you're going to have to transition, you know, bring her back to your place. I've taken trains. I've had girls, like, you know, grocery shop with me, and then we take a train, you know, the transit back to my place. Yeah, and the same thing works. If a girl is into you, she will, follow your lead. And it doesn't have to be like whatever you planned on your date. Let's say like, oh, let's go for frozen yogurt. You can immediately switch it up. It really doesn't matter. Let's say she shows up on the date right at the frozen yogurt place, and you just say like, yeah, like, I'm really hungry. I'm just going to go to the grocery store and pick up a few things and have her come with you, pick out things, like, goof around with her, find out like, we can play around with anything there and make it fun. Touch her so she feels comfortable with you, like you're not going to hurt her or harm her. And once she's comfortable with your touch, it's very easy for her to go transition back to your place to make dinner. And you can take it from there. The only time you really mess up in this whole like escalation process is when you jump too soon. You push too far too soon, and it scares a woman before she's ready. She's like, whoa, I wasn't expecting this to happen. Like, I feel really uncomfortable. But you'll know this as soon as you watch her body language in your house. Is she like tense, like nervous? Is she worried about being in your place? Then you have work to do in loosening her up, relaxing her, so she's ready to get in bed with you without feeling nervous or unsure. And it happens very quickly. Like the more you touch, the more you touch her, the more relaxed she'll be. Obviously you don't want to put your hands all over her when she's outside of your house, because it looks bad. But the more you touch her, the more she gets relaxed with like you touching her, the easier it'll be for her to like relax back at your place. So yes, it really doesn't matter the date idea that you have. You can switch it up as soon as she shows up. Yeah, let's go to the bar, and like, you know what, like change of plans. I have to pick up a few things, hop in my car, and we'll go. I have to grab a few things and errands to run. And you can run around town doing all your errands, touching her, joking with her like a normal date is. It's just like she's tagging along for your little joyride, for your little errand run. It can be a million things. You can be like, oh, like I got to go to a thrift store. I got to check out see if I can find some tennis rackets, whatever. You have to look at your area to find out what is available to you. What is, something you could use a date and then transition. What I say over and over again, you do not want to sit in a date location for the entire time trapped with other people around you listening in on your conversations. On a first date, it is a recipe for disaster because you're both in interview mode, because you're both wondering like, oh, like there's a lot of people listening. I don't really know this person. You're guarded enough already. Why make it worse by having a waitress or other customers all around you at the same time? It's a recipe for disaster. You're both going to be stifled. You're not going to be able to touch her very much. And if you do touch her around a lot of people, she's going to feel really uncomfortable with you doing that because it makes her look, kind of trashy. Anyways, guys, that's the video. If you need help doing this, there's coaching links down below to maximize your date potential and make the most out of every date that you have and the options that are available to you. Anyways, guys, that's the video. Thanks for watching.